That's fine then. Sounds like a group therapy session with explosions. That's the beauty of political language. It's not meant to communicate. It's meant to anesthetize. It's like Novocaine for your brain. They give you a nice, soft phrase so you don't feel the pain underneath it. When someone dies because of a government decision, it's not death, it's casualties. When people lose their jobs, it's not fired, it's downsized. And when they throw you out of your house, it's not homelessness, it's economic mobility. See, they make disaster sound like an opportunity. They could make a funeral sound like a career fair. Politicians learned a long time ago that the truth doesn't sell. Reality is messy. People don't like messy. So they wrap it in a shiny little bow of language that makes you nod politely while they pick your pocket. They don't lie, no, they just adjust the truth. It's not corruption, it's campaign finance. It's not bribery, it's lobbying. They even have a word for stealing your money legally. It's called appropriation. They appropriate your cash, your trust, and your attention, and you thank them for it. And the best part, they act like they're doing you a favor. They stand there, smiling, talking about shared sacrifice, which means you sacrifice and they share. You ever notice how it's always the same words: freedom, progress, growth, security? These words are like seasoning. They sprinkle them on everything to make it taste good. You could be choking down a plate of economic disaster, but as long as they say it's for national security, you'll ask for seconds. Let's talk about freedom. Now there's a word that's been through the political spin cycle more times than a campaign T-shirt. Every politician in history has promised to protect your freedom while quietly taking pieces of it away like a magician doing a card trick. We're protecting your freedom, they say, by monitoring your calls, your emails, your thoughts, and your facial expressions. Great, I feel so free I can't move. Freedom has become one of those words that means whatever they need it to mean that day. It's the verbal equivalent of duct tape, fixes every argument, covers every lie, and leaves a sticky residue of nonsense. And then there's the American dream. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? It's like a bedtime story told by a credit card company. Work hard, play by the rules, and you'll make it. Except the rules keep changing, and guess who's writing them? The same people who sell you the dream. The dream, by the way, comes with a 30-year mortgage, 2 car payments, and an adjustable interest rate that adjusts upward every time you blink. But they don't say that. No, they call it opportunity. You're not drowning in debt, you're participating in the economy. And when the economy crashes, because it always does, they've got a phrase for that too. They call it a correction. You ever notice that? A correction? Like the economy just misspelled a word. Oops, we erased your savings and your pension, but hey, we corrected the market. It's amazing how language can turn catastrophe into a mild inconvenience. They don't say poverty, they say income inequality. Sounds like a math problem, not a moral failure. You've got to hand it to them. They've built a language that protects them from accountability. When something goes wrong, nobody's to blame. Mistakes were made. That's my favorite one. Mistakes were made by whom? They never say. The sentence just floats in the air like a fart in an elevator. Mistakes were made. Yeah, and money disappeared. People got hurt, and somehow the same folks keep their jobs. That's not politics, that's magic. And all this wordplay isn't just accidental, it's the system working perfectly. Because if they can control the language, they can control the thought. You don't question a policy if you don't even have the words to describe what's wrong with it. They say enhanced interrogation instead of torture. And suddenly the moral debate gets lost in the grammar. They say peacekeeping mission instead of war, and suddenly you feel patriotic for being confused. This isn't just about government. It's a team sport. Business, media, everyone plays along. They all use the same verbal smoke screen. A company dumps chemicals into a river, and instead of saying, "We poisoned the water," they say, "We experienced an environmental incident." Oh, did you? Sounds like the river tripped over your toxic waste. Incident, what a polite word for mass pollution. It's like saying, "We didn't rob the bank, we conducted an unauthorized withdrawal." You ever try talking back to this kind of language? You sound crazy. You can't argue with phrases that don't mean anything. You say, "Hey, you're cutting healthcare funding." And they say, "No, we're optimizing resource allocation." Oh good, I'll just optimize my broken arm in the meantime. It's a hall of mirrors made of buzzwords. Every reflection looks shiny and official, but none of it connects to reality. What's funny and sad is how easily people fall for it. You dress up a bad idea in a suit and give it a slogan, and suddenly it's policy. Call it a reform, and people will cheer. Nobody ever asks what's being reformed. You could reform their wall. It's right out of their pockets, and they'd thank you for your service. And then there's the media, those wonderful translators of nonsense. They repeat these phrases like they're sacred scripture. They say, "Officials announced today that the situation is under control." Under control? Whose control? What situation? Nobody knows, but it sounds reassuring, doesn't it? That's the trick. Keep everyone comfortable enough not to look too closely. It's almost poetic, really, the way they can turn any disaster into a bedtime story. Don't worry, folks, everything's fine. We're just restructuring, recalibrating, readjusting, and realigning for a more efficient tomorrow. Which, roughly translated, means we screwed up, but please keep voting for us. Language is their magic wand. Wave it the right way, and reality disappears. And we let it happen because the words sound so good. That's the real joke hiding in political talk. The words are the punchline, and we're the audience laughing at our own expense. Because when words lose their meaning, power fills the silence. And that's why you've got to listen not to what they say, but to what they don't. ChatGPT said, "You ever notice how the people in charge always look so serious when they're lying to you?" That's the first clue. They put on that "trust me" face, straighten the tie, lean into the microphone, and suddenly they're experts on everything: the economy, the planet, your life, your future, all while looking like they couldn't fix a leaky faucet if their job depended on it. They love the performance. Politics isn't about ideas. It's show business with bad lighting and worse scripts. It's not about solving problems. It's about appearing to solve problems while blaming the last guy who didn't. That's the real act, the illusion of control. They've got all these fancy words, these big speeches, these shiny promises about moving forward and making progress. They hold meetings, shake hands, pose for photos, and call it leadership. But if you look closely, it's the same play being performed over and over again, just with new actors and slightly better microphones. The audience keeps changing, the story doesn't. The plot is simple, keep people hopeful enough to keep watching, but confused enough not to change the channel. See, the real trick isn't just in the words, it's in how they use those words to manage you. They sell comfort. They sell the idea that someone somewhere knows what they're doing, and that's a beautiful thought, isn't it? Don't worry, folks, we've got this under control. But what they really mean is, we've got you under control. Because if they can make you laugh, cry, cheer, and argue on command, that's power. That's better than money, although, conveniently, it is money too. Now, here's the punchline. We love it. We love the drama of it all. We love the debates, the slogans, the flags waving, the theme music swelling in the background. Politics has become a reality show for people who think they're too smart to watch reality shows. Coming up next, two people arguing about the same issue they argued about last year. Don't miss the rerun. It's got new outrage. They make politics sound like it's life or death every election, but somehow The same problems keep hanging around like that one uncle who never leaves the couch. And the jokes in all of this are hiding in plain sight. You ever notice how every side says the other side is the problem? They're ruining the country. They yell. Meanwhile, both sides are at the same banquet, eating the same steak, laughing at the same jokes at our expense. It's a club and you're not in it, but you buy the tickets, you watch the show, and you clap when the curtain falls. That's the beauty of the setup. The audience doesn't even realize it's part of the act. They don't just want your vote, they want your faith. They want you to believe that these people, with their perfect smiles and carefully scripted speeches, are the heroes of the story. That's why everything has to sound epic. You're not just passing a bill, you're shaping the future. You're not cutting taxes, you're empowering families. You're not taking rights away, you're enhancing national unity. See how that works. Every line sounds noble if you deliver it with enough confidence and a flag pin. And the media, oh, they love the show too. They're the stage managers. They cue the outrage, write the headlines, cue up the experts, and then act surprised when everyone's arguing. It's not news. It's entertainment dressed in a suit. Breaking news, they say. Yeah, breaking your attention span into 1,000 pieces. They never solve anything because solutions don't sell commercials. But fear, anger, suspense, that's good for ratings, and ratings, my friends, are the real voters in this system. You know what else is funny? Every time something big happens, they all use the same words. Historic, unprecedented, turning point. How many turning points can one country have before it just starts spinning in circles? They keep promising change, but the only thing that changes is the direction of the finger pointing. The language stays the same, the structure stays the same, and somehow the little guy always ends up footing the bill for someone else's historic moment. That's how control works. You don't have to silence people, you just have to give them enough noise to drown out their own thoughts. Keep them busy fighting each other over crumbs while you're baking the next cake. It's genius, really. Distract the crowd, shuffle the deck, and make sure nobody asks who's dealing the cards, and if someone does notice, call them unpatriotic, uninformed. Or my favorite, a conspiracy theorist. That's the political version of shut up. The real comedy is that people still expect honesty from the most dishonest profession in history. It's like expecting diet advice from a donut. We promise transparency. They say, write transparency as in you can see right through it. You ever see one of those town halls where they pretend to listen to the people? That's another show. They nod, smile, say that's a great question, and then proceed to answer a completely different one. It's like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat you paid for, and yet we keep coming back. We keep hoping maybe this time they'll mean it. Maybe this time they'll care. It's the world's longest running sitcom, and the punchline never changes. You want to fix it, you can't fix it. It's not broken, it's designed this way. The jokes are baked right into the system. The confusion, the drama, the promises that never quite land, that's the script. What's really clever is how they've turned comedy into their best defense. If someone calls them out, they laugh it off. Oh, come on, don't take it so seriously. If you do take it seriously, you're negative. If you don't, you're uninformed. They've got an answer for everything. The game isn't about being right. It's about never being wrong long enough for anyone to notice. And through it all, the people, the ones who actually live with the consequences, are left juggling words and trying to find meaning in the mess. It's a funny kind of control, not through force, but through confusion. Not by silence, but by noise. They flood your mind with so many slogans and speeches that you forget what you were angry about in the first place. They don't even need to convince you anymore. They just need you tired enough to stop asking questions. But comedy, real comedy, sees through the costume. It peels back the fancy language, the fake smiles, the endless slogans, and says, "Wait a minute, what are you really saying here?" It's not about disrespect. It's about decoding the script. Because once you start laughing at the game, it stops working on you. That's the real power of humor. It breaks the spell. It reminds people that behind all the big words and empty promises, there's just another performer trying to keep the lights on and the audience clapping. ChatGPT said, "You know, people always say laughter is the best medicine." I don't know about that. I've never seen a hospital with a stand-up wing, but I do know this. Laughter is the best antidote. It's the cure for nonsense. It's the way we keep our brains from getting completely scrambled by the constant stream of political fairy tales we're fed every day. You can't fight this stuff with anger. It's too ridiculous for that. You've got to laugh at it, because if you don't, it'll drive you absolutely nuts. You watch the news, you hear the speeches, you listen to the debates, and after about 5 minutes you start wondering if the whole world is a badly written sitcom. Everyone's serious, everyone's outraged, everyone's pretending to save the planet while making sure they get good lighting for the camera. And you're supposed to take it seriously, that's the rule. This is an important issue, they tell you. Yeah, but it's being explained by the same people who can't keep track of their lunch budget. That's where humor comes in. Humor says, "Wait a minute, are we really buying this?" It's the pause button for the propaganda machine. The laugh is the moment you realize you're being played. It's the mind's way of saying, "I see what you did there, and I'm not falling for it." Because when you can laugh at something, you're no longer hypnotized by it. You've stepped outside the illusion. You're watching the puppet show from the audience instead of getting tangled in the strings. See, the people in charge don't mind if your angry anger is easy to manage. They can redirect it, use it, sell it back to you in a different package. But laughter, they can't handle laughter. You can't control people who are laughing at you. That's why humor has always been dangerous. It tells the truth in a way that sneaks past the guards. You can't outlaw it, you can't censor it, because by the time they realize it's criticism, everyone's already laughing. And what are we laughing at? We're laughing at the performance, at the empty promises, at the ridiculousness of pretending that the same problems will be solved by the same people who caused them. Every few years they come out with a brand. New campaign, shiny slogans, fresh posters, same speech, only the punctuation changes. It's like political karaoke. Everyone's singing the same song, just off, key in a slightly different tone. They talk about serving the people, and you can't help but wonder which people exactly, because I don't see any of them in the room when the deals get made. We're fighting for the middle class, they say, like it's an endangered species they keep in a zoo somewhere. The whole thing is a circus, and humor is the one way you can watch it without losing your sanity. The thing about comedy is it holds up a mirror. It doesn't lie. It reflects exactly what's there, the contradictions, the hypocrisy, the absurdity of it all. When you point out that absurdity, people laugh not because it's made up, but because it's true. Deep down, everyone recognizes it. They laugh because they see the trick, and for a moment they're free from it. That's the power of humor. It makes you free for just long enough to remember what freedom feels like. You ever notice how whenever someone makes a really sharp joke about politics, the room gets quiet for a second? There's that little nervous laugh, the kind that says, "Oh boy, he's not supposed to say that." That's the sound of truth bumping into the wall of politeness. Humor jumps over that wall like it's not even there. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need to be approved by a committee. It just slips through the cracks and reminds everyone that the emperor isn't wearing any clothes, or at least that his tie doesn't match his lies. The people in power hate that moment because humor breaks the spell. It exposes the trick. It reminds everyone that authority only works as long as you believe in it. The second you stop believing, the curtain falls and the magician has to start looking for another job. That's why real humor isn't just about jokes, it's about awareness. It's about looking at the world and saying, "This is ridiculous, and I'm not afraid to say so." It's amazing how a good laugh can cut through years of brainwashing. One joke can do what 1,000 debates can't, make people see the truth without needing to fight about it. You tell someone a fact and they'll argue. You tell them a joke and they'll laugh, and in that laugh they understand. Humor bypasses the defenses. It goes straight to the part of the brain that says, "Yeah, that makes sense." That's the real power of it. It's the quiet revolution that doesn't need a slogan. And the best part is laughter brings people together. You can have two people who disagree on everything, but if they both laugh at the same joke for that moment, they're on the same side. They've both recognized something true, something human. That's what laughter does. It reminds us that underneath all the labels, the arguments, the fake outrage, we're just people trying to make sense of the madness. Of course, not everyone likes that kind of honesty. Some people want their comedy safe, polite, approved by the same folks who approve the nonsense in the first place, but real humor doesn't work that way. Real humor doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up, kicks open the door and says, "You guys hearing this too?" Because the minute you start censoring jokes, you start censoring truth. And once the truth goes quiet, all that's left is noise, speeches, ads, slogans, applause, and silence where the laughter used to be. That's why it's so important to keep laughing, not just for fun, but for survival, because the moment you stop laughing, they've won. They've convinced you that their nonsense is normal, their contradictions are logic, and their failures are progress. Humor is the reset button. It's how you stay awake in a world that's constantly trying to rock you to sleep with comforting lies. You ever notice how people say, "Don't joke about serious things"? I say, especially joke about serious things. That's where the comedy lives, in the tension, in the discomfort, in the stuff everyone's too scared to say out loud. Because when you make it funny, people can finally talk about it. That's how societies stay sane, by laughing at what scares them. Without that, fear runs the show. So when you hear the speeches, when you see the headlines, when you get told what to think and how to feel, laugh. Not because it's all funny, but because it's all absurd. Laugh because you understand the joke that's being played, and because you refuse to be the punchline. That's what laughter does. It turns power on its head. It reminds everyone that no matter how big the show gets, the audience still has the last laugh.